Hello and welcome to another episode of Parker's Previews powered by The Hammer. This is the show where we're going to take data, analytics, advanced stats, dive deeper into some college football matchups so that we can be better consumers of college football content and smarter investors as we approach those matchups. This week got a really great slate. Hoping for a bounce back week, honestly. We can be transparent. Not a good week last week. That's all right. Have 3 plays, and sometimes you get the bounces, and sometimes you don't. Kansas State really hurt. Thought that they should have won that one, but and covered there. But you know what? Time marches on, and the season goes on, and we're getting back on the horse this week. So if you are just tuning into this, seeing this for the first time, make sure you go back and subscribe to the YouTube channel and Parker's Previews on Twitter. You can find everything, all our videos there. Yesterday, I talked about Iowa State as a favorite or as an underdog, as one of my favorite bets. Iowa State as an underdog as one of my favorites, and will convince you in that video of why that's a good bet. Today, gonna go a little bit different and go into the Big Ten. Going to talk about Minnesota. Going to talk about Illinois in a really fun matchup here. So make sure again, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and if you want this in audio format, you can get this wherever you get your podcast. So this week, the Minnesota Golden Gophers at 4-1 travel to number 24 Illinois Illini out there in Champaign. And Illinois is 5-1, having a great season behind Chase Brown, the running back. It does look like Tommy DeVito is out for Illinois. That actually, because of how much they run, and we'll talk about that, might actually not make that big of a deal. But I'm going to go ahead and say that Minnesota minus 6.5 is one of my best bets this week. This game opened at 3.5, jumped up to 6.5 because obviously there's some information about Tommy DeVito and about Mo Ibrahim for the Gophers, which kind of made this a little bit more in Minnesota's favor. But anything under a touchdown here, I think is going to be a pretty good bet for the Gophers. So Illinois this season is 4-2 against the spread, 2-4 to the under. And Minnesota is 4-1 against the spread this season as well. So something's got to give here. Two teams that have done really well in covering, although their schedules have been pretty different, I think is fair to say. I think their schedules being different is a fair way to kind of break this down. Good teams beat bad teams, and Minnesota certainly has beaten bad teams. New Mexico State 38-0, Western Illinois 62-10, Colorado 49-7, Michigan State 34-7, and then without Ibrahim, they lost to Purdue. Illinois, on the other hand, has a phantom loss to Indiana that perhaps shouldn't have happened because of some officiating, but they've played Wyoming, Indiana, Virginia, Chattanooga, won at Wisconsin, and then won a 9-6 contest. Looks like a crazy baseball game from last week against Iowa in a no offense allowed situation. So I'm going to favor Minnesota here, and I'll break out my handy dandy marker and we'll talk about why. So breaking this down, I have Minnesota about a 71.3% win probability. Illinois 28.7, Minnesota 25-26 projected points to 17 or 18 points for Illinois here. So on the average and the medium outcome, I have Minnesota covering. I like them for a couple of reasons. I think their offense is legit and their defense is legitimately underrated. Minnesota is second in EPA per play margin. When you adjust that for opponent, they're still top 5. Illinois is 19th overall. When you adjust that for opponent, that comes way down because their offense is not very good, and EPA per play margin skews towards offense. So the Illini are 85th on offense, 3rd on defense. Minnesota is 11th on offense, 2nd on defense. In terms of net points per drive, just basic outcomes, Illinois is 19th with being 89th on offense, 2nd on defense. Very good on defense. Minnesota is 2nd overall. They're 3.05 net points per drive. They're averaging 3.7 on offense, which is 7th overall, and they're allowing 0.64, which is 1st. So you have arguably two of the best defenses in the nation competing this week, which should be a lot of fun. Two teams that also like to run the ball a lot. Illinois will run the ball a lot more now that Tommy DeVito is out, and they have Art Sikowski back there. Minnesota is 5.9% more than the average team. That's 101st in rush rate over expected. And Illinois is 88th with 3.4 percentage points higher than the average team. So both run heavy teams, both have a dominant player, Mo Ibrahim for Minnesota, Chase Brown for Illinois, that they want to get involved in a lot of different situations. Lastly, a big edge to Minnesota in game control. They have not faced a lot of negative game scripts. 72.6% of all quality possessions in a game come from Minnesota. So that's second in echo ratio. Illinois is 11th, but it's 60.2%. So a pretty huge separation in quality possession and game control between the two. On offense, Minnesota, 5th overall in success rate, 11th in EPA per play. They're 10th in passing success rate, 6th in rushing success rate. They are a little more successful in the pass game with that 10th overall than they are explosive in the pass game, being 27th in EPA per pass. A lot of that comes from the nature of the plays that they run. Minnesota is an RPO-heavy offense. They want to run that glance RPO. They want to run, get the ball to their big tight end over the middle of the field. Without Bell, their passing game has been a little bit limited, but they're still able to work that RPO system, really lean on the opposing defenses to make a mistake, and really push the opposing defenses to make a choice about whether they want to respect the run or get punished with the pass. Tanner Morgan, the quarterback, has been actually pretty great, arguably having his best season of the year, reunited with offensive coordinator Kirk Soroka, who went to Penn State for a little bit and now is back. So highest completion percentage of Minnesota's, of Tanner Morgan's career at Minnesota. Note, this is his 5th year starting. 5th year at the program and 5th year playing significant dropbacks. 162 was his lowest dropbacks in 2018, and then he's been, the starter ever since. He has a 92.6 offensive grade, 91.4 pass grade. A big time throw rate of 5% compared to turnover worthy play rate of 3.1%. And his average depth of target is 10.2. So they are getting the ball downfield. You can see that with their explosiveness in the pass game. And the rush game is certainly there to back it up. We can't talk about Minnesota without talking about what Mo Ibrahim does to this offense. He is just excellent. Leads the team in attempts, leads the team in yards, and is just excellent all around. 8 touchdowns to 1 fumble. He's averaging 6.4 yards per attempt, 4.36 yards after contact per attempt. His long run is only 34. The dude is bruising. He is getting hit and he is just moving. The reason I bring up that long run, remember, is we're talking about yards after contact. A lot of times you'll see a guy, Kendra Miller from TCU is a great example. I think in 2021, he led the Big 12 and maybe the nation in yards after contact because he got hit at the line really weirdly on one play and ran for like 90 yards after that. So sometimes we want to look at the long just to make sure that's not influenced by outliers. But it seems like Mo Ibrahim, obviously his yards after contact ability is very strong. He has 19 runs of 10 plus yards. This Illinois defense has been pretty balanced. They're second in the pass, EPA per pass. They're 19th in EPA per rush. So not a huge difference between the two there in terms of opportunity. Defensive coordinator Ryan Walters, a name that as he ages and keeps putting up numbers like this and keeps putting up defensive programs like this, might get some play at an actual head coaching job. They've been really solid. They've limited opportunities well. 7th in quality possession rate, 5th in points per echo. Both of those are, top 10 in the nation. Minnesota's offense is not far behind, being 12th in echo rate and 10th in points per echo. Slight lean on field position for Illinois, but that's not really going to be statistically significant because it is such a small gap. Both teams are, not super great at starting field position. The big split that'll be interesting to watch: Minnesota 18th in early downs EPA, 1st in 3rd and 4th down success rate. Illinois really good on early downs, 4th and 2nd in late down success rate. So a nice kind of balance there, best on best. A really, really efficient offense against a really, really efficient defense. And that should be one of the better matchups this weekend. The reason that I think Minnesota covering is a good bet has to do with the other side of the ball. So let's talk about Illinois' 85th ranked offense. That's excuse me, remember that is not opponent adjusted. So that does not account for the fact that they haven't played a lot of quality opponents. Chase Brown is the leading rusher for Illinois, 872 yards on the ground, 5.7 yards per attempt. And in the passing game, Brown is he has 14 targets and 4.5 yards per reception. So he's really involved. They really like to get him the ball. And his yards per contact is not bad. Yards after contact per reception is not bad at all, 3.39. They really are. I mean, he's really got some stoutness back there. Tommy DeVito was pretty decent in the run game. I mean, he had 21 attempts as well, and was a little bit utilized there, but not a lot of quarterback running. It's going to be the Chase Brown offense. Minnesota knows what's coming. I wonder if they'll be able to bottle up just because of how one-dimensional Illinois has been. If we look at target share, Isaiah Williams for Illinois has 38 receptions, 50 targets, leads the team. So almost a third of the team's targets go through him. But Illinois has 9 passing touchdowns compared to 9 passing touchdowns compared to 8 rushing touchdowns. So they definitely want to move the ball a lot more on the ground. Their passing game is super inefficient. They're 91st in EPA per pass. Minnesota's defense, statistically, just describing what has happened, is the most efficient pass defense in college football right now at first overall, negative 0.37 EPA per play. That means that teams are losing more than a third a point in value every time they pass against Minnesota. That's absolutely absurd. 14th in EPA per rush for Minnesota's defense. Illinois, not very successful in the rush game, despite the fact they have Chase Brown, despite the fact they rely on him, not as efficient there. 68th in EPA per play in the rush. They're 52nd in rushing success rate, but they really haven't been able to break off many of those explosive runs. And that really has hurt them. One thing to go hand in hand with that lack of explosiveness is that Illinois is 45th in quality possession rate, but they are 92nd in points per quality possession. So they're not finishing those well. They're settling for field goals. They're not getting those big kind of breakout plays and explosive touchdowns. That's going to be really hard for them to keep up with Minnesota's offense because they need this kind of plodding, slow game, and Minnesota will beat them if they play that plodding, slow game. So explosiveness for Illinois really makes them one-dimensional there. Field position, Illinois' defense and special teams has been great. They're 20th. In starting field position on average, starting drives at their own 32.6. Compare that to Minnesota, who's allowing a starting position of 28.8. That's 55th in the nation. So strong lean towards Illinois, maybe getting some short fields, maybe being able to benefit there. But really going to be hard for Illinois to overcome just this lack of early downs of playmaking ability. They're 80th on first and second downs in EPA per play. Minnesota's defense is second overall in early downs EPA per play. And although Illinois is a little bit better in third and fourth down, they're 52nd with a 45.1% success rate. Minnesota, fourth best defense on third and fourth down success, 25.8%. So really feel like Illinois has a couple good things going for it. I think they're a good team. Their defense is absolutely for real, but their offense is so bad and really struggles with explosiveness. If Minnesota gets Ibrahim back, can get into a positive game state, and then just sit on a lead, I don't even know that Illinois can put up a garbage time touchdown. So low total here, you'd be inclined to go with the dog, but I'm going to take the favorite because we do get that injury news because Illinois' offense is so limited with Sikowski. As much as I like Chase Brown, I think that offense still has a little ways to go before being a threat. So going to go with Minnesota minus 6.5. Think you can get it 6 still some places. Don't really pay for that half point though. If you don't have to, if you can get it same price, awesome. That's going to be one of my best bets for this week. Thanks for listening to episode 2 of 3 of Parker's Previews. I'll be back tomorrow with a third game. Make sure you're followed on the YouTube channel. Follow Parker's Previews on Twitter. Follow Stats of War on Twitter. I'll post graphs and thoughts and jokes about games all week. And you can get this in audio form wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for listening. Catch you next time.